Now, get ready to talk hockey. Streaming from the Oilers Live Studio. Subscribe or follow today.
Hey, it's Michael here again for another Tuesday edition of the Oilers live stream. We've got someone from enemy territory in tonight to talk a little post-game, and then, of course, rematch with the Jets on Thursday night, I believe, is the game. And it's Mr. Bryan Johnston. He's a contributor over at Arctic Ice, and also one of the co-hosts over at Jets Centric podcast. Welcome to the show, Bryan.
Hello, everybody.
So, you're the only one smiling tonight. No, that's, I mean, you know what? I'll start by saying that the Jets played the exact type of game that you want to play against the Oilers, which they did, obviously, which lots was made in the playoffs. The Jets played exactly the same type of game against the Oilers that got them a 4-game sweep.
Right.
In the playoffs last year. What's your thoughts on the game?
Well, yeah, I guess they kind of reminded me of something that the Kings kind of did to the Jets on Saturday. It was just like the Oilers weren't able to get anything going offensively. And yeah, they played it really well defensively. Obviously, the Jets did. The Oilers weren't really to generate a lot of speed through the neutral zone. Couldn't really get a lot going in the offensive zone, like besides I think McDavid line got a few chances, but that was kind of it. The Jets kind of shut him down. I didn't think the Jets created a number of good chances. Like it wasn't a total offensive onslaught, I didn't think, but they did a great job of shutting the Oilers down. And yeah, I just thought it was a really solid overall game from the Jets. And, from an Oilers standpoint, I think you probably want to generate a little more speed through the neutral zone against that team and try and beat them that way.
Yeah, I thought, this was a theme. I know you don't. I don't know how many Oilers games you watch, but this was a theme in the past road trip. The Oilers are just finishing up a 5-game road trip where they came out really flat in the first out of every one of those games. In fact, as you would have been watching it more than likely watching the Jets broadcast over the Oilers broadcast if you weren't at the game.
Yeah.
And they were even talking about it, like, once the Jets were up, that the Oilers were, a team that's won coming from behind, a couple times this year. Namely, any win that they had on the road trip, plus, a couple other times. And it's kind of a bad habit they've really been going through. And I'm not sure if it's, if it's a coaching issue or, if it's a culture issue. It's just more of a recent thing. So maybe they get out of it. Maybe getting back home changes things for them. But certainly coming out soft, and then and that 4-minute double minor. Also, and Jets fans will hate to hear it, but that second goal was garbage. that was probably one of the worst. There's been a lot of non-calls against the Oilers when you have McDavid on your team, but not calling that an interference against Scheifele and then leading to a goal. That changes the complexion of a game, and I hate that. It's not why the Oilers lost, but certainly was, you get that 2-0 goal, and then you get this, 4-minute power play, and the game's a lot different then, right? So
Second one, that was the Oilers one, right?
Yeah, it was also a crappy non-save by Koskinen, who just doesn't seem to... he makes some really beautiful saves during a game, but he's of course our backup goalie for good reason, and
Right.
That's the I'm going to start calling him soft shot Koskinen because he
Yeah,
just
like
doesn't come through in the right times.
Yeah, from our standpoint, I think we were just we were just kind of wowed by the shot by Ehlers. I'll be honest, I would have totally missed the interference by Scheifele, but that's, I guess, Jets bias, right? And
Well, yeah, and it's curious because I'd love to go back and maybe I will go back to that goal and watch the Jets broadcast because obviously you watch the Oilers broadcast, lots is made of that, right? And so,
right.
if you're and they'll go back to that play over and over again. Whereas if you watch the Jets broadcast, the play you're going back to is the shot, right, by
Oh
Ehlers.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Which
I
was a
mean,
nice shot, but that's not an NHL caliber goal, right?
no,
Like,
you
there's no
need.
way that Hellebuck lets
Oh,
that in, right? Like he
yeah,
was,
a shot from that far out,
yeah,
you definitely want your goalie saving it.
yeah,
Like even in the early going this season, there's been some Jets fans like, and I don't get it, who have been all over Hellebuck. Like he hasn't been bad in the early going. Like he hasn't been last year's goalie, but anytime anything gets by him that's not a perfect shot or
yeah.
something close, it's like they're all over him. It's like, well, he's not going to save everything. But that one, yeah, I think you want the save there by Koskinen.
Yeah, and it's such a key moment, right? Like that extra goal, right? That insurance goal in a game just kind of turns the tide of a game so often, right? And then to I mean that's a legit penalty, the 4 minute double, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's unfortunate, but it happens. But that's the kind of thing, you call it whatever you want, puck luck or anything. But that second goal, then you lead into a 4 minute minor, and you're starting to run. You're coming from behind in a game. But I thought Hellebuck played a hell of a game. I mean, he kept it. He kept the Oilers off the board until into the third period, and there were some amazing opportunities for the Oilers prior to that, and there was a lot of Oilers Twitter that was wondering if we would even get one by them.
Yeah.
Of course, McDavid's on a I think it's now running into last season 23 game point scoring streak. So there was a point at which some of us were a little bit worried.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's the moral victory we'll take from it, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Well, there was one, I can't remember how early on it was, but I think it was McDavid sent a cross ice pass on a 2-on-1, and then Hellebuck got across and made a save. I think it might have even still been 1-0 at that point. And
yeah, he played a hell of a game. And you know what, the Jets played a good all around game. That Stanley is one hell of a big defenseman, I'll tell you.
Stanley,
Oh yeah,
he's a big
huge.
talking point among Jets Twitter. He's massive. Like
Yeah,
he can do some things out there. He's not the smartest player, which does irk some fans, including myself sometimes. Like I think he's an effective third pairing defenseman.
well, the boarding call he took against Draisaitl, I mean that was just a bonehead play, right? Like
Yeah, no,
he's
that was
twice the size of Draisaitl. I'm not sure what he would expect
yeah.
in that.
No,
He's twice the
there was
size
no
of
need to do
anybody.
that either.
Yeah,
Like that gave the Oilers a chance to get back in the game
yeah.
right there. It's a 2-goal game. You got McDavid and Draisaitl on the other side. It's like a little bit nervous there for a bit, but then the Jets kind of maybe took it over a little bit again in the third after that. But yeah, it's not something you really want to see, but ultimately it didn't cost them in the end.
Yeah. So tell me about the Jets this year, because that's typically why I get guys on the show. When we've got normally it's funny, we don't get a lot of these rematch type of situations. Not like last year where we're playing 2-3 game sets, which I liked. But this is kind of the first one for the Oilers this year where it's a back-to-back against the same team. Not, I keep saying back-to-back, but a rematch, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and home and home. Let's call it a home and home. There we go. There's a few changes. Obviously, Appleton's gone, right? I was actually a big Appleton fan. There's a couple ins, couple outs. Your thoughts? I mean, both the Jets and the Oilers are leading their divisions, and they're 1-2 in the conference right now. Oilers only a point above the Jets right now. So your thoughts so far on the Jets and the additions? Anything big that you think has happened? And
I'll say it's been a weird season to start for the Jets. A lot of stuff that I didn't really expect, and I don't think I have a perfect read on this team yet. I think the biggest thing to start the season, though, has been kind of the bounce back year from Pierre-Luc Dubois. Last year, after the Patrick Laine trade, a lot of us were really down on Dubois after the season. You trade away arguably the most exciting scorer you've ever had, and a guy comes in and doesn't perform so well, and so you're not feeling great about it. But early going this season, he's been dominant, and it's been a lot of fun to watch. And aside from Kyle Connor, I think he's been our next best player after Kyle Connor to start. And then more on Kyle Connor. In previous years, he was more of just kind of a finishing type. Didn't really drive a lot of offense. This year, he's taken some big strides. He looks a lot more confident carrying the puck through the neutral zone and making plays in the offensive zone rather than just being a trigger man. And it's really fun to watch. I think Nate Schmidt's been a great addition. Putting him beside Josh Morrissey has really helped stabilize him. And I wasn't a huge fan of Brendan Dillon in the early going, but I think he's kind of stepped up his game lately. And weird, it's kind of been a down year for Nikolai Ehlers so far, who's arguably been the Jets' best player over the last 2 seasons. And despite that, the Jets are playing really well. They haven't gotten big contributions from Ehlers or Scheifele, and they've still got it going. So that's kind of exciting. So I don't have the perfect read on this team yet, but there's a lot to be positive about, especially considering some of their top guys really, in my opinion, haven't gotten it going.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting, right? Because they, that's kind of where you want to be. If you're going to start out where you feel like some players aren't doing exactly what you're expecting of them, to come out and be 9-3-3 out of the gates, that's exactly what you want, and have the team start to chug midway, get those bank those points early, right? I mean, the Oilers have done the same. I think there's lots to be learned from this team yet, and we still don't know, as Oilers fans, what kind of team we have. As I said, I mean, this 5-game road trip has put some questions on certain areas, on the team, and they went 2-3 over the last 5. So, it's not the end of the world for them. Obviously, they built, enough. They banked enough points early on in the season, going 9-1, right? That they, can afford to lose a couple, which is what you expect, and you have the nuclear option if you're Coach Tippett to go with Draisaitl and McDavid, which, as you saw tonight, I mean, when you put those two on the line together, they're just it's just. It's
a lot of fun.
It is. As a hockey fan, you need to enjoy it. As Oiler fans, we love it. I think as a hockey fan, you need to enjoy it too, even though, you might, it may be frustrating to watch the two of them if you're, defending against them. But what I enjoyed about the Jets tonight, well, I didn't enjoy it, but I think as Jets fans, and you brought it up, is Dubois. I mean, here's a guy that he's not only just scoring this year, right? He's already got 8 goals, which is pretty nice little stretch there in 14 points. So he's a point-a-game guy, but he's mixing it up, right? Like him and Nurse go in there, right? Like he's jawing people. I hated him tonight.
Yeah.
And as a Jets fan, that's what you want, right? And you want a guy like that who, is theoretically your second-line center, right? And
Yeah.
you want that in your lineup. So I thought that was something else, and the Oilers are going to need to find a way to kind of counteract that on Thursday night.
Yeah, totally. He's been playing, I think, top line with Connor and mostly actually Evgeny Svechnikov so far. They moved Blake Wheeler onto that line today. But yeah, they've been super effective. And it's a lot of fun. And yeah, it's more than just the scoring. It's like you said, he's a physical force out there, and he just makes things happen. And when he's on the ice, the puck's on the Jets sticks more often than it is on the other teams. So
Yeah, that was an interesting thing that came up, by the way. One of the stats that came up on the screen for the Oilers broadcast was that the Jets were sitting in 12th for possession totals this year versus the Oilers were, first, I think, was the, which is not a big surprise. But tonight, I thought it went the other way, right? I thought the Jets did a great job of holding possession, keeping the Oilers hemmed in. They played a much bigger game, I think, than the Oilers did, and I'm happy to see the Oilers play a team like the Jets. I think you've got a good team going, like good, both from a size and a talent level. And I think the Oilers need to play more teams like the Jets in order to understand how they need to play, right? I'm not. There's going to be, if you're just like as in Winnipeg Twitter, right? Like if the Jets are, lose a couple of games, then the hounds come out, right? And everybody wants to, they all want to kill somebody, fire somebody, demote somebody, or whatever. Oilers fans are no different, if not worse, because there's probably more of them. They're ready to, destroy Koskinen and
I hear Oilers media can be a lot of fun too.
Oh yeah. I mean, there are a couple of folks out there. You got to appreciate that for the Oilers, nothing will ever be good enough because, well, we had a time when they were the best of the best, right? And so.
Right.
You always want to go back to those glory years. And then when you've got two guys like Draisaitl and McDavid, you kind of, you have in your sights something that looks pretty special, right? Like these guys are doing things that nobody's done in, 20 years. The only person to have to have as many multi-point games by this point in the season, there's only two other players that have, other than Leon Draisaitl, and it's Mario Lemieux and Wayne Gretzky. And if you ask anybody in the NHL, like guys that I've had on the podcast or whichever, everybody talks about Connor McDavid. And there's a guy on this team that's doing unreal stuff, over 2 points a game, over a goal a game, right? Like on pace for 50 and 50, right?
Yeah,
and
it's
pretty
sick,
crazy, right? Yeah, but we're still got to put the rest of the team together. And
yeah. I saw a stat. I can't remember who tweeted it, but it was like the last 6 years or something. The Oilers' bottom six has had it's been under 40% goal share for the bottom six for like each of the last 6 years or something like that. And that just boggles my mind considering.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a little bit unfair only in that those two guys get so many points, right? Like if so it kind of skews it a little bit, but
I'm just talking about like the goal share versus like other lines. Like for instance, 40% goal share would be like 4 goals. Yep. 4 goals for, 6 goals against kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Like they're getting outscored is what I mean, like by quite a bit. And it just, to me, it's like, oh, wow, that should be like one of the easier parts of your team to build, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder where that's at this year. Would they have those on like Natural Stat Trick or something? Where would you go for that kind of a stat?
For a full bottom six, I don't know. Oh, here we go. At NHL_Sid. Oh wow, 28% goals for percentage so far. 7 goals for, 18 goals against for the bottom six. Wow, yeah. So yeah, 1, 2, 3. So last 5 years, it's been below 40%.
Oh yeah,
yeah. It's.
Yeah, I mean, I would say this probably has been the 1 year in probably the past 5 years or so that we've actually had a bottom six that looked half decent, right? And the unfortunate is we need, we still need a couple of guys to stay healthy for that to, maintain, right? A couple of key players like Cassian, for instance, got injured on the road trip and missed a game and missed part of a game. And that's a big loss. Cassian brings something that the Oilers, need, right? A little bit of grit and he's actually got some nice hands when he made one play today down low that was a beauty where he kind of slinked past the defender and then put it on net. But he got injured, and they need that. The bottom six is so, as you say, right? I mean, and I'll have to read that article later. It's NHL_Sid, and I guess it's on Oilers Nation.
Yeah,
but it'd be interesting.
I don't think, unless it might have came from an article. Oh, that data is via Natural Stat Trick on the Viz here. I don't know if it's from an article or something, but looks like it's just a Viz put together. I don't know. But yeah, they did add some guys. They added Warren Fogle. Was Derek Ryan a new addition this year?
Yeah, Derek Ryan was playing with the Flames last year. He, of course, played hockey in Edmonton with University of Alberta Golden Bears before he moved to the NHL, so he's familiar with the city. He's brought a lot of face-off capability with him. He hasn't done, though, everything that the Oilers would have expected at this point. But that third line for the Oilers, Fogle, Ryan, and Cassian, that's brand new. Fogel's brand new. He played in Carolina, and he's actually been outstanding. The third line's been really good. The fourth line's taking a little bit. Of course, it's I always find the fourth line is maybe the hardest for a team to kind of tie down a good fourth line. They just play so few minutes, right? So
it's often spare parts, right?
Yeah, exactly.
For the Jets, it's Riley Nash, Dominic Toninato, and Christian Vesalainen, obviously Vesalainen hasn't made a name for himself in the league yet, and Toninato and Riley Nash are more or less journeymen. So
yeah, and you know what? And Riley Nash is exactly the kind of guy you want on your fourth line, right? Like he plays a tough game when he's out there. You hear about him when he's out there.
Yeah,
right? Like he plays limited minutes, and always have enjoyed his play. He's not obviously it's not showy or anything, but I mean did he come over in the trade for Laine as well, or?
No, they signed him this offseason.
Okay.
He I think he actually got traded to Toronto at last year's deadline and played a little bit for them. I think it was Toronto anyway. But yeah, he's not going to give you a lot offensively, but he's certainly a strong defensive player. I think he can kill some penalties. He hasn't played a ton on the PK to start the year for the Jets, but I think that's something he's done in the past anyway. I didn't think he was great to start the year. Like first couple games, he's like, oh, you probably put someone else in there, no problem. But I think the last 4 games he's been better.
Yeah. Yeah, I like when I look up and down the lineup, like to have Lowry sitting on your fourth line, like that's pretty decent, or third line rather. You've got some veteran presence. That's Svechnikov. I mean, he's got a lot of upside and could potentially be a really great player.
Yeah.
I don't know much about Harkins. I mean, I knew the player before, but I don't know a lot about him.
Yeah.
But certainly the bottom six, and I think the Jets have been good at this over the last few years, right? Having just a complete lineup, right? Like whether maybe in Winnipeg, yeah, Scheifele should be a top scorer in the league all the time, but he's not the flashiest guy out there, right? Like out of all the players in the league, having him and Dubois, right, being your 1 and 2. They're kind of in that sort of getting down the lineup of sort of the high scorers in the league, but they're so solid, right? Like this team just is built, from the ground up, like a nice foundation.
Yeah, I think honestly sometimes they can use that depth a little better. I'll be honest with you, because like they don't have Paul Stastny right now; he's out with an injury. But I think if the Jets are doing things optimally, they might actually go Scheifele, Dubois, Stastny, and Lowry down the middle, and just kind of stack the centers that way. And then you got someone who's really either playing at or above sort of their level, above their level. That doesn't make sense. But yeah, Lowry playing on the fourth line, he'd be an awesome fourth line center. Like he's a solid third line center, but he'd be an awesome 4C kind of thing.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
There's definitely
some depth with this group.
Yeah, I think you've got something. The other thing, though, love him or hate him, but I think Maurice outcoached Tippett tonight. Like I felt, which will happen sometimes at home. I thought that was, Maurice did a good job just having the team prepared. It felt like a team that came in prepared, that had watched a lot of video on how to defend against the Oilers, and perhaps defended the best that I've seen yet. We've got about a minute left. I'd like to get you back again, Bryan, if we can, and we'll chat some more hockey. But your thoughts on the McDavid hit on Pionk?
I think it was a shoulder, right? Like he kind of glanced him with the shoulder, right? I didn't see it that closely, but
yeah. I mean, I'm asking your thoughts because as a homer, right? Obviously, that's how I'm going to see it, right? But if I'd ask a Jets fan, they might see it as something that's absolutely vicious and worthy of a 10-game suspension, which it's not. But
no, I try to take bias out of it when I look at stuff like that. I don't think it was a dirty play by McDavid, if that's what you're asking me.
Yeah. I'm just curious. I mean, I would disagree, but I wouldn't be arguing it to my death or anything like that. There is some discussion already of whether or not Department of Player Safety will take a look at it. McDavid, of course, already had a 2-game suspension for a high hit once upon a time. So I'm curious what'll go on.
I might have to look at it again. I'll be honest. I only saw it live the one time, and then I think I looked down to grab a drink after.
Yeah. So it didn't really. You know what? I think it was worthy of a penalty. Is my thought. Worthy of a suspension or an extra look? I don't think so. But I get, when the Oilers are playing a team that plays like Winnipeg, they get frustrated. And that showed tonight in some of the plays. And I thought, you know what? That's how Winnipeg's got to play them. They did a good job. Hey, appreciate you coming on, Bryan. Always like the guys and everybody from Jets Centric podcast. You guys do a good job out there.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and thanks for the kind words.
Yeah, hopefully us Oilers fans get a different result come Thursday.
Yeah, hopefully for you guys it's a little more fun.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks so much, and have a great night. See you, Brian.
All right. Take care.
Bye. So that was Mr. Bryan Johnston from Jets Centric podcast. He was he's the guy that is a little bit more audio statistics focused. He said, and it's great if you get a chance. Check him out over at Arctic Ice. I think it's an SB Nation blog site, so check that out. Anyway, he's good. You can follow him at Bryan Johnston 18 on Twitter. Next up, I've got Dash coming in. He's one of the co-hosts, of course, of the Heavy Hockey Network, Straight Off the Pipe. He co-hosts every week with Mr. Mike Dursa, who also does the Mega Thread. So if you get in on that Mega Thread now that we're 15 games into the season, geez, it's flying by fast. It's been pretty good. So anyway, I'm going to have Dash join me. Just a quick shout out to Canada's soccer fans today. We, of course, came out with a big 2-1 win. Leaves us top of the CONCACAF World Cup qualifying standings right now, which is pretty unbelievable. Here he is, man of the bottom half of the hour.
The best half.
The best half. That's what we call it. A guy I don't have to fight with. No, you know what? Brian was good. I was hoping maybe he had seen the McDavid hit a little bit. I don't know if he caught that, but I asked him
For sure.
what he thought about the McDavid hit, because I saw a couple of media guys get on and said they thought the Department of Player Safety would take a look at it. I didn't think it was that much of a hit. I thought it was, take the homer out of me, and I thought it was a penalty. But and it was frustration on McDavid, which I think is a whole other conversation. But and what's your thought on the hit?
I thought you invited me here to talk about soccer.
You bet I did. Yeah. Did
Do we have to talk about this game?
I caught which I'm sure you did too. I caught the last 20 minutes of that game.
It was more aggressive the end of that soccer game than I've seen from the Oilers in the last 4 or 5. I don't know. Yeah,
I'm a huge soccer fan. I'm a big soccer fan. I even hate our Canadian team doing it, rolling around on the pitch that. And man, I hate that. That's the only thing. If you could change that in soccer,
the one thing.
The rest of it I love, but I do love the feistiness at the end of the game. That was great.
It was cool to see, for sure. Yeah. I didn't mean to skirt your question, man.
No.
I saw the hit. I saw it live. I had a similar response to Bryan Johnston, really, is that I just saw the one angle and saw it live. The view was, from Pionk's back. So, I mean, he snapped his head back like he took a sniper shot from the stands, let's be honest. But to not be Homer, McDavid was a little predatory there. Let's be honest. I think there's some boil over from the playoffs last year. I think
not just that, but Winnipeg plays a tough game,
dude.
Yeah,
that's 14 games in the last 8 months we've played the Jets. We started that. That's a lot of familiarity, if you will. And there's some boil over. There's no way that there can't be. There were 7-2 in those first 9. And now we've lost 5 in a row, and there's no doubt that they weren't frustrated. They looked frustrated. You hit the nail on the head at the end of your last guest's interview in the first half hour when you said that you think Tippett's getting outcoached by Paul Maurice. That was pounding and echoing around in my head the entire game. This is 5 games in a row where we can't generate speed through the neutral zone. We're just, I think the Jets might be one of the only, if not the only team that makes 29 and 97 look human.
Yeah. No, you're 100%. And I mean, well, let's be fair, close to human. I mean, they still look pretty outstanding.
There's still an element of nuclear there. The guy's on pace for 50 and 50, but You know what I'm saying?
That's unreal. Here's when I say that I thought Tippett was out coached, I really believe when you watch Winnipeg come into that game, like they look prepared for Edmonton.
Yeah, man.
Not as you could talk hockey culture and what's going on in the room and all of those things, but these looked like guys that had watched tons of tape and knew exactly how they were going to play Edmonton from puck drop, right?
From puck drop, from the end of last year's season, dude.
Yeah.
You know, look at the last 5 games and how the Jets have played against the Oilers. You know, they haven't been able to. This was the closest, and here's what worries me, you know, and let me preface this with, hey, 11-4 is a great start.
Oh yeah.
Like, can we just throw that up there and say we're both happy about that before we go on a little bit of a rant here? But I'm not happy about tonight. We've lost 3 out of the last 5. You know, as the Offspring said back in the 90s, we're creating a bad habit.
Yeah.
And blowing it away. And, you know, this is 6 games in a row where we've given up the first goal. This is 5 of the last 6 where we're going into the third behind. This is 5 in a row versus the Jets where we look out-coached. We have played, 15 plus 4, 19 games. In our last 19 played NHL games, 5 of them, 29 and 97, could not get through the neutral zone. Which 5 were those, Michael? The Jets, and the Jets. And, you know, their D got bigger this year.
Oh,
you know,
man.
I thought
Stanley was a monster.
He reminds me of Boogard sometimes.
I think he better get a
Boogie Man.
He might even want to get a DNA test. He might be Chara's kid. he's like he is a monster. That guy, man. Like he crumpled Draisaitl behind the net. Like, and it didn't
pissed Draisaitl off though, man. That got his fire under.
But
him.
It didn't even look like he pushed him hard. That's how big that guy is. Like he pushed him hard, but it's only it's like watching Lemieux skate, right? Like when Lemieux.
Well, he hit him harder than McDavid hit Pionk.
Yeah. Oh, so, yeah, absolutely.
100%. Let's circle the wagon back to that. It looked like he hit him with his shoulder. It looked like he did hit him in the head. Keep your fucking head up.
Yeah.
At the end, he's looking for the puck there. His head is down. McDavid put his shoulder right into the middle of Pionk. It certainly looked like from that angle he caught some head. I'd love to see it from the reverse, though.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think that would be a good angle to see it from. We got Dursa following along. He says it became extremely evident tonight the Achilles heel of this team is not having a big money goalie. It needs to happen. Thoughts on that? And I put something out there today on Twitter. You saw it, I think. Which is I just want to hear for one game. I don't want to hear. Koskinen is battling back from a soft goal. Do you know what I mean? He makes some stellar big money saves. Let's be honest, right? Like he made tonight, he's made every game he's been in. He's made some big money saves. It's the fact that he'll make 10 big money saves and then let you or I score a goal on him, right? Like I just don't. Yeah, it's awful, and the timing. Goal, like timing of the goals is everything, right? Like going
for
down.
Sure, man. That's what I was gonna say. You nailed it. Dursa, tell me something I don't know, buddy. Come on, Captain Obvious. Like
you two.
It's been we should. Hey, you should put us on a podcast together. I'll argue with that guy for hours.
Yeah.
Oh, but he's right. The team doesn't trust him, and it's evident in the way we approach the off season. It's evident in the way we came into this season. It's evident in the way that we signed Smith, and it's evident in the way that the team plays in front of him. And that's becoming more and more glaring. That first goal was brutal. It was. And you nailed it again, man. When you said that second goal, I agreed that you could feel the air come out of their lungs. You could feel the momentum shift again. And then they get a 4-minute penalty to boot. That was the finisher, right? Yeah. That was the stone cold stunner. Done. So where goaltending it's keeping us in games. Sometimes it's also not winning us games. And I'd say there's maybe been one game all year where we've actually had a goalie step up and win us a game. And to have the effort in front of Skinner that we've had, I was embarrassed for the team to come out against Buffalo like that after what they did to Skinner versus Detroit. Yeah. That was one of the hardest parts. I went to go and look at my Buffalo game notes before our show here, actually, and all I could find was some doodles of a bunny rabbit and a flower because I was fucking bored. But this is how poor we were coming out against Buffalo. 4th game in a row where we gave up the first goal. 4th game in a row where we were behind going into the 3rd. Clearly making it evident we are not a good team when we play from behind. We had 8 total hits in that game against Buffalo, and that was by 3 Oilers. Yeah. 3 Oilers had hits, Michael, and 4 of those 8 hits were from Perlini. Yeah. Who doesn't even play that style. Let me finish. Blocks. Russell had 4 of 6, and blocks were 21-6 for the Sabres. We didn't even show up, man.
I'm not here. Let me put this the right way, because I'm not a big Chris Russell fan, but I wasn't as big a detractor of Chris Russell in previous years. But this year, it shows to me I honestly don't think the guy should be back on the ice this year, and we got to find a 7th D, right? Yeah, that's not Chris Russell. And this, we're talking about, yeah, we're talking about Dave Tippett being outcoached by Paul Maurice. This is probably my single biggest complaint about Tippett is his reliance on, what he views as, veterans, right? Like he'll go to the veteran well over and over and over again when it's not maybe not showing, right? Whereas, there's other things he'll do that he thinks are the right thing to do, but he goes back to the veterans, doesn't matter, right? Like it's just, he'll put a veteran in there before he puts anybody with a couple of years experience, even if they're playing a better game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it drives me nuts because, it hurt. I don't think we ever saw the best out of Bear, right? Like we saw some good moments with Ethan Bear, but we didn't see the best out of him because as a young player on a Tippett team, you make one mistake, you go down 4 rungs. As a veteran player, you make 4 mistakes, you might go down a rung, but odds are you'll be back playing again sometime soon. Right, and it's that reliance on the veterans that really drives me nuts. And then again, I mean, you talk about goaltending. I've tried to give Koskinen he was 9-1 going into tonight, right?
Yeah, the most underrated 9-1 start of all time.
Yeah, you try to I don't know. You try to say Koskinen's going to do all right, but I think that this team has outscored the goaltending woes, so to speak. And Smith, nobody's come right out and said it yet, but Smith is out long term.
Right? Him coming back on a plane to Edmonton halfway through that road trip was your sign there. He clearly tweaked whatever it is in practice again. I mean, it has to be a groin or an ankle. Only one of those two things makes sense as far as.
And the big challenge is all the guys that we would have hoped are starting to turn their seasons around, except for maybe Fleury and the Chicago Blackhawks. I'm scared. I'd be scared of picking up Fleury, though. I know a lot of people wouldn't be. Your thoughts on that?
You would be scared of picking up Fleury?
I would be scared, yeah.
Really, hey? Yeah. No. I mean, I'll argue with you there. That's the Vezina reigning trophy winner. That's guy that's been an integral part of Penguins Cup wins. That's a guy that's taken Vegas to the finals 2 straight years.
But do you want him as your only guy?
That's exactly what we need. And no, he won't be our only guy because Koskinen will still be a decent backup, or Smith will still be a decent backup.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really curious about where Smith is at. We'll see. They haven't obviously they haven't said much, but when they stop saying and people start speculating,
Yeah.
and some of the speculation that you're hearing groin, but who knows? I mean, it's to me, this is it's going to be long term. Skinner came in and did well coming in tonight in the third.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, he's played. He's given us some hope, I think, in terms of having a future prospect of a goalie. He's matured a lot, other than that gaffe that he made, which you can forgive early on. He's a third stringer who's played, what was that, his second NHL game?
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
So
and
first
third
this year.
stringer. Yeah. And he's come in, and I think he's done well. And as you said, I'm just disappointed the Oilers haven't come to his defense and won a game for him. Yeah.
He's outplayed his third string role. I think, honestly, Koskinen's probably outplayed his second string role, to be honest. And the problem is this is what we did to him last year. Yeah. We ringed him out last year too, and it hurt him for the rest of the year. Now, maybe that was because his family was back home and all of that, speculation. But I just hope that we have we do need this better and more consistent goaltending moving on here. And I think Koskinen's either starting to wear out or I don't know. It's hard to beat up on a guy that's got the record he does, but these haven't been great games the last 5. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, and habits. I mean, you talk about habits. I don't love the way this team is coming out. And part of me, I was thinking about this tonight, right? Like, how much of this is this over-reliance on McDavid and Draisaitl to win a game, right? So you need that bottom 6 to come out hard, because I think that McDavid and Draisaitl and those guys, right, that top 6, I think they kind of save themselves for the third, which I would totally do if I'm, out there, right? Like I get this sort of sinking feeling that my team's going to be down by 2 goals going into the third period, and I need to have my energy there. It's, you look at them and they just don't feel, it never feels like they're saving themselves, but how much of that is there in that, do you think? I mean, I don't know. It's such a weird thing for them to come out as flat as they have for at least the last 4 games, right?
Well, 6, I would say.
Yeah, probably the worst was that Detroit game. Like they might as well have just shown up in the third, right? Like that was awful. Well, and even then,
Not every team plays all 82 games. Let's be honest. You got to save yourself and load manage or whatever the hell. And I'm sure those are the games like Detroit and Buffalo that those guys look to probably take off a little bit, right? And try to take a bit of a break, but they weren't able to outscore their mistakes like they had in the past. And then it caught up to them. We're clearly proving that we're a team that needs to play with a lead. And we're clearly proving that we're a team that needs to generate offense off the transition and off of the rush. When those two things aren't happening, it's tough. And we've lost, we've given up the first goal 6 times in a row. So that means we're not playing with the lead. And again, when we're playing with the lead, that forces teams to make mistakes, which means they're going to take penalties, which means we can launch power play mania, and Draisaitl proved what happens if you're going to be overly physical with us. He killed him with 2 on a 4-minute penalty from one hit on Logan on Draisaitl that clearly lit a fire under his ass. So
I would have led the riot, by the way, on that second goal if they disallowed it. I would have led the riot. I would have been I would have been in an NHL head office. Man, I'd tell you that yeah. Anyway,
Puljujarvi did everything he could to get out of the way of that puck, out of that goalie's way. He got cross-checked, which should have been a penalty, really, against Winnipeg, let alone him getting pushed in, let alone he did everything he could to get out of the way. Yeah, I was shocked at the ref. Obviously, he wasn't looking at the whole play and just kind of caught the end of it while he was...
Where he was looking, right? I can give the ref the benefit there, but the other ref should catch something like that. The, one thing, though, that, you talk about we've got an 11-4 record. Look, we're 733. Even if you take the last 10, we're 6-4 in the last 10, which that's what you want all year, right? You take 10 games,
when half are on the road.
6-4. Yeah, I'm all right with that. And the loss, the losses that we've had, right? Philadelphia, well, Philadelphia's got a decent team, and Detroit was maybe the one loss that I'm most disappointed in. I just felt like the team came out really flat. It was first game of the road trip, a few games off. I mean, if you think about excuses for this team, right? They lose to Buffalo after a pretty tough game in Boston, but you beat Boston, right? And then you come out and you play Buffalo. And then you beat St. Louis. So you beat Boston, you beat St. Louis on this road trip. You kind of expect in that, you were hoping to beat Detroit and Buffalo. I think that's the sad part. And maybe losing one to the other guys, right? And this should have been a 3-2 road trip versus a 2-3 road trip. But, hey, look, 11-4. The only thing that really, really pisses me off is the loser point, right? I will.
The Calgary point.
Oh man, I tell you, it drives me up the wall. Even if you look at Winnipeg is 1 point behind us through 15 games, they're officially 9-6, right?
Yeah. That's right.
They're not. Instead they're.
That sounds
1
a lot
point
closer
behind,
to.
Right.
Yeah. When you look at just the numbers of the record, they look a lot closer to 500 than we do.
Hey, Calgary is 500. They're 8-8. They're 1 point behind Edmonton. That's 11-4.
Wow. Yeah. There you go. Thanks, Bettman.
Yeah. I don't know. I've never had anybody give me a good reason for keeping the loser point in the. I've always thought. The traditionalists will hate this, but I've always thought that what the league should do if they want to make that. I think if
2 and 1.
2 points and one. Yeah. So make every game worth 3 points. Like every game's worth 3 points. You win, you get 3 points. You win when the puck's on the ice and you're skating around. It's 3 points. So if you win in the overtime, 3 points. The other team gets 0. But if it goes to a shootout, then I don't think you should get 3 points. You get 2 for the win. The other team get 1 because and then I think that to me is the right and the fairest way, because the other part is it's a manufactured point. Some games are worth 3 points. Some games are worth 2 points. It just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, I'm not a math major, but but it drives me nuts when I look at the standings. I see the Oilers that have done their part, and the Oilers have on occasion benefited from the loser point, not very often, but they had a couple years back. I think you got to go back a ways before the Oilers benefited from anything, but
other than winning the draft lottery.
Exactly, yeah. So anyway, you know what? I will die on that hill. I just hate the loser point, and I hope they get rid of it.
I'm not a fan too. I mean, what's the big deal if they do change that? Then you just got to talk in different numerology. Like it's 150 points to make the playoffs, and 100-point seasons don't mean anything anymore. But eventually, you get used to that, right? For me, it was the Buffalo game that honestly really pissed me off the most. Detroit, at least they came back a little bit in the third. I thought they had a better effort in the third versus Buffalo. But for me, the Buffalo thing was, again, what I said, repeating that they had a chance to redeem themselves for Skinner and they couldn't. And so that was extra disappointing icing on the cake for me. But man, they gave up 4 clear breakaways. That first Cousins goal, go back and look at it and try and have a look at who's on the red line while Cousins is scoring that. It's a guy that wears 97.
Yeah. And
on the Cousins second goal, that was the rebound on the breakaway there, both Dry and McDavid gave up at the blue line. And that was the only reason Cousins had the space to get that. And, I think a lot of the times in oil country, we're pretty quick to jump on the Koskinens and the Russells but let's give some criticism when it's due. Cause I thought our best players needed to be way better in that Buffalo game. And at least in the Detroit game, they had a good third. Whereas in that Buffalo, it was just shit. We're down 3-2 in the Buffalo game, and it took us 10 minutes to get a shot in the third period.
Yeah, no, that was, I think it was 11 minutes, wasn't it? I mean, it would.
Yeah, maybe. I'd made the note at 10 minutes. So yeah,
man, yeah.
That did it for me. That was the kick in the.
I just on a back-to-back. I always think you can give the team, especially after a hard game like playing against somebody like Boston. But
yeah,
but still, you know what? I like. You want to get up for the games where your third stringers in that, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the kind of team you want. I think
Ryan McLeod can't be your best player.
Yeah. Although, hey, he's been doing all right. He even had.
Yeah,
I thought he did. He did. He had a
good
game. Good game tonight. He's got the speed to be an NHLer.
Yeah.
And he had the grit.
He played well tonight.
And,
9-1 in the faceoff circle versus St. Louis. If it wasn't for O'Reilly, I'm not sure St. Louis would have won a draw.
Yeah.
Derek Ryan was 9-2, and McLeod was 9-1.
Yeah. You know what? I like this team. Like we're talking about hockey after an Oilers loss, and you're going to be a little bit negative, right? Especially you come out of a road trip 2-3, you're going to be a little bit negative when you're not used to losing for the first part of the season, right? It kind of feels like the sky is falling, but at the same time, I love a lot of the things that this team, is representing. Draisaitl, the way, he was getting guys points when they needed it. The fact that everybody's behind, McLeod when he gets his first goal and this team really, I think has got some good chemistry. I think they're somebody commented on one of my Twitter posts today and said we'd be lucky to hit the playoffs. I don't believe that for a second. Like this is going to be
500 the rest of the season.
Yeah. This team's going to be a top 3 team in the conference, I believe. Mm-hmm. If not number 1 in the conference. I think they've got a good team. I think they've got some things they got to do right and different, or just change what happened on the road trip, right? Like start coming out, a couple games at home. What's their schedule look like now? They play Winnipeg and then Chicago. So, you got a chance to, get some ground back by, playing a good game, especially in a home and home like this. Come out flying and destroy Winnipeg on Thursday. That's got to be good for morale. And then Chicago should be a win. And then you got Arizona on your second half of a back-to-back. I mean, that's right. Like that's like
should be a tap in.
Yeah. That's the one you want for the scheduler to give you, right? Is the Arizona game. So I think that this team has a chance to get back on track and do some good things. I'm not. As I said, it's hard not to be a little bit negative, coming after a game like tonight. We also haven't seen the Oilers lose by this margin, right, or be down 4-0, right? We've seen some games where they were down 2 or whatever, or I guess the closest.
First time I thought we might get shut out.
Yeah. Hellebuck looked awesome.
Oh, Hellebuck did Hellebuck things tonight.
Yeah. Look, also Winnipeg. We talked about it before. Winnipeg just played a hell of a game. Like there's that one. Even on the power play, I thought like they did their homework. There was one time where there was no way McDavid was taking the puck in. They put up a line where they were basically holding hands on the blue line, and nobody was getting through there, right?
Red Rover, we call Connor over.
Exactly. Like I just, the only thing I thought about that was like it worked out for them that time, but then I thought, well, 2, 3, 4 out of 10 times McDavid's going to make it through that line, and then you're hooped because he's in all alone, and it's an easy tap in for him. But
yeah, we still scored 2 on the power play. So what are you going to do?
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, this is the part that scares me a little. Is that this is the closest thing to a playoff style of game that we've played yet. This was the first time where we really got beat up on the cycle. This was the first time where.
Agreed.
Another team's defense really brought it to our top players. And, Draisaitl looked like he was in a battle tonight. He had marks on his face and snow all over his equipment. And That's what scares me. And I thought CC and Cody ran around a lot tonight. Keith's -5 in his last 2 games. I'll have, last 3 games, pardon me. As is Bouchard, where credit is due. So, I think that is what, 11-4. Awesome. 3 out of the last 5, not great, but this stings a little and this scares me a little, Michael, because this is what we all fear. This is a playoff team we ran into. This is a good goalie we ran into. This is a physical team we ran into, and we didn't get calls from the ref. Doesn't that sound like the playoffs, bud?
Oh yeah, 100%. It felt like that tonight, didn't it? I mean, this we could have replayed any one of the 4 games in the sweep and put it up against this one for sure. It did have that feel tonight, and I thought the same thing. Obviously, the NHL did the same thing they always do with the cross-check. I mean, that's gone by the wayside. I'm not even sure I've seen the Oilers benefit from a cross-checking penalty this year, which, is no surprise. But you're 100% right. This was one of the first tests that we had against a team that's going to play that style. I think I hope, fingers crossed, that because it's a home and home, we can see a different team come out. I love Draisaitl when he gets pissed, right? Yeah. Remember, everybody will remember Riddick, right? He changed Riddick's life after Riddick, right?
Didn't he?
Big save Dave was no longer Big Save Dave anymore.
Big stick toss Dave.
Exactly.
Well done.
I mean, I remember Draisaitl even in the playoffs against San Jose, right? And he got the fine for the in between the legs. I was at that game, by the way, in San Jose. We lost 8-1 or 8-0 or whatever it was, 8-0. I think. Oh, it was gross. But look, Draisaitl came out pissed off, and this year I am loving Draisaitl even more than I loved him in previous years. I always have a lot of love for McDavid, but I even feel like I was undervaluing Draisaitl.
Wow.
I didn't realize he's shown to be number 2 in the world right now, if you ask me.
Dude, he's outplaying the number 1 in the world now. Who in their bloody fat wallet would have bet money on the fact that Connor McDavid is on pace for 60 goals and 100 assists and over 160 points, and he isn't even leading his own team in scoring?
I know.
Who'd have bet that, man? You can't, Draisaitl, 7 multi-goal games.
Only other guys, right?
Ovechkin has 2.
Lemieux and Gretzky.
No.
This point in time to have the same
multi-point
games. Yeah,
multi-point games, but multi-goal games. He's got 7 this year now, where he's got 2 goals or more, and the next person is Ovechkin with 2. Yeah, he's on pace for 50 for 50. He's 7 in his last 4. What Draisaitl's doing is incredible, man. Show me another tweet that says Austin Matthews is better than Leon Draisaitl. I dare you. What did Austin Matthews score? His 6th tonight? Yeah. His 6th?
That's gone by the way.
You're no math wizard, but 15's better than 6, buddy.
Yeah, they that's gone by the wayside. Thankfully, I love Matthews. Well, I don't love him, but I think he's a hell of a player. But Draisaitl is proving himself on. Not just as a goal scorer, but a playmaker and everything. And 2.2 points per game, absolutely ridiculous, right? And as you said, he's outscoring. I still think McDavid's the best player in the world, but he's outscoring the best player in the world. And he's doing everything. He doesn't just. I mean, I don't know. What do you say about it? What do you say that hasn't been said?
He's on pace for 181 points, man.
His face-offs are top in the league. He's one of the best face-off guys in the league, right?
He took over a third of our draws tonight. I think he took 20-some face-offs.
He plays penalty kill, right? And he does it he does well, right? the guy does everything, right? Yeah, I love him. And he's sitting, for the most part on the second line, so to speak. Although, it's McDavid is the first line, right? And you put whoever you want on McDavid's line. I think if you put Nuge on McDavid's line, that line might spur a little bit more. We'll see. I never put it past Tippett to start screwing shit up. So
for sure. I mean, you even look at the plus minus. Leon's plus 11 and Connor's plus 2.
Yeah, absolutely unbelievable. Yeah, no,
Connor's got some work to do to catch up for the Hart Trophy this year. You know what I mean?
He does, right?
Hey, let me go out and score 160 points and get 100 assists and still have to catch up to somebody to win the MVP award. Yeah. Pinch me, that's the fun part about this season, dude.
Yeah. Well, and look, this is what I think Oilers fans have been waiting for, right? That 1-2 punch. Right?
Yeah.
When they're finally playing that way, it's good. We'll see what happens. Anyway, we're at the end of the hour. I gave you an extra 10 minutes tonight, man. Extra nice. 10 minutes. Holy
it's fun talking hockey with you, Michael.
Wait till that
handsome Haligonian hunk.
That heavy hockey guy. He's probably gonna fire me, but probably take me off my own show soon.
I know, hey, the masked man that runs this whole operation behind the curtain. The man behind I fear that guy. If I ever see him, holy shit, I'll piss my pants.
Yeah, he's mean.
Heavy hockey, he has a heavy hand.
Mean son of a bitch, that guy. All right. As always, rightly or wrongly, I'm going to let you have the last word. And then when you're done, say goodnight. We'll finish her off. You're up.
I'm sure it's your mistake, but I'll take a swing at it anyways. You know what? Let's end it on a positive. Great to see the Oilers at 11-4. Road trip was what it is. 6 out of the last 10, and most of those were on the road. So, this is all positive, people. We didn't expect to go 9-1 in every 10 games, and so this is the balance. Congratulations to Connor McDavid on being the 6th fastest player in NHL history to reach 600 points. Just a couple of no names like Yari Curry and Bossy and Lemieux and Gretzky. They're ahead of them. So pleasure to have them. Pleasure to have 3 Oilers on that list, and we've been lucky to see it. So I hope they keep it up. This has been fun to watch, and go Oilers, go. Good night, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
Oilers Live Podcast.